Welcome to Red Zone in the Lab podcast. I am Deuce, and it's good to be back. Our Wednesday edition that we're doing on Friday with Ken and Souf. Today, I guess, maybe we'll preview the Cowboys. I think it's more interesting things to do than previewing the Cowboys. We're definitely going to talk about Ron Rivera and his comments today about him not being able to coach for 3.5 years. That was very, very interesting. And we're also going to see where Ken is in the draft process with some of the prospects that the Commanders are going to be looking to come April, and of course, South is going to be South right after this.
Shout out Red Zone Lab Podcast.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's Benjamin St. Jude's, DB for the Washington Commanders. I want to give a big shout out to Red Zone and the Lab Podcast.
Welcome. It's been a while. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Ken and South, especially. So Ken, Happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, and all that other good stuff. How you been, man?
Well, I'm moving along. I think that's the best way to put it. The troubles that I had just prior to Thanksgiving continue, but not as bad. So slow improvement. Good holiday season. And I turned 65 just before Christmas. So now I'm on Medicare. The Medicare board swallowed me up. So I'm an old guy now, literally. But it's good to be with y'all in this new year. Happy New Year.
South, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are y'all? I'm just a film father these days. We're not taking any casual takes anymore. If you don't know ball, we're not trying to hear what you got to say. That's what I got. But Happy New Year, y'all. Happy holidays. Hope it's going well.
Yeah, man. I mean, these first 5 days has been kind of wild in the world. So many things have been going on, and it's only been 5 days. But let's get right into Ron Rivera. Ken, they asked Ron about his tenure here. Not being successful, and his reply was he wasn't able to coach for 3.5 years. He's only been able to coach for these last 5 games because he had to be more of a manager. When you hear those comments, what do you think?
It's obviously true. I mean, what else has he been doing these last few years? The roster that he inherited was not a bad one. It wasn't a great one. And I thought he was going to build on that. Basically, he made it worse. So for these 3.5 years, yes, I would say he probably wasn't coaching. He delegated that, and that's fine. Head coaches can do that nowadays. So I wasn't alarmed to hear it. Could he have done more? I don't know. But essentially, as GM of the football office, uh, his decisions across the board, whether it was free agency and the draft, um, especially free agency, it was an unmitigated disaster. When you have guys like David Mayo, Cody Barton, and others that come in and are laughable. I mean, that's just the best way to put it. It's not good. He overdrafted players, especially in the early rounds. You look at each of the first rounders; they were all drafted earlier than what they should have been.
Mm-hmm.
From Jamin Davis to Emmanuel Forbes, Jahan Dotson. These guys should have been drafted later. There were opportunities to fill some very needed spots on the roster with good
Mm-hmm.
players that were available, and he
Mm-hmm.
didn't choose to do that. So, yes, he was a GM that failed. As far as the coaching stuff, that I think that's just not really something that really affected the team performance overall either way.
South. I mean, he took $40 million. I mean, he took $10 million a year. Um, obviously he's not going to quit, so he's going to be released. Maybe they agree to mutually part ways, and he may get a half of the contract next year. But he can make $50 million. I mean, he came in and he said, "I want everything. Give me everything," and now he's upset that he had everything.
I mean, what? Uh, what else is there to say at this point? Like he came in, and I mean, obviously we don't know what he did. Because he's been not coaching for the last, you know, up until 5 weeks ago.
Hmm.
So I try to sympathize with it. I try to be as understanding as possible. Yeah, he came in with, all the baggage and everything like that. So I guess he did a bunch of stuff behind the scenes that us fans we don't really know about. So hats off to him for that. But like to say that in the media, like I haven't been coaching since the last 5 weeks, that's crazy. And so like so what does that say about your coaching? Like they've these guys have been giving up 40 points a game since he took over. So like
Hmm.
who's gonna hire this guy? I mean he could go back to Carolina, I guess. There are fans in Carolina that still like him. And then because they've been going through it as well as we have, but like they almost have a little bit worse because now we don't have a weird owner anymore. So they do. Um, at this point, the bar is lower to them than it was to us, so they might take
Hmm.
Ron back over there. So he can go up the road or go down the road and go back to his old stomping grounds in Carolina. But it's
Yeah, man.
bad. It's bad.
Yeah, and they also asked him about and what's up, Glenn? Glenn said he's still even when he coached, he's still on fire. What's up, Radar? Radar in the building. So and everyone else that's listening, we definitely appreciate you guys turning in. They asked him about his coaching, like his career record. And obviously he's going to be at 500 or he's at 500 right now. So you know, they asked, does that mean anything? He's like, oh, I am. Like he clueless. Like he didn't even know he was at 500. And they asked him, does it matter? Can he said, oh yeah, now it matters. So you're telling me that the game didn't matter to you prior to knowing that, or Ken, do you think he's just trolling?
It's kind of reminiscent last year of when a reporter said late in the season said, you're still in the playoff hunt. And he said, I am. We are, huh? And so that surprised him. I think all of this is just indicative of a structure that tells you that a good NFL team has a team president, president of football operation, a general manager, and then a head coach. That tells you if you try to put all that on one man, he can't do it because he couldn't remember a lot of these things. He didn't coach. And guess what? He's the head coach. He's supposed to be coaching. That's in his title.
Yeah.
So today's NFL, you need at least a general manager and a head coach, and it needs to be two people doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But with the structure that Josh Harris and his group wants, it's going to be three, and I think that's very good. They're taking kind of a NBA, NHL approach to this front office, and on Monday everything changes, and it changes for the better. And quickly, Riri, I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. Thank you for asking.
Mm-hmm. Hey Riri, hey Miss Janet. Um, yeah, so They say today was the last practice. A lot of the veterans are not playing, which you could kind of expect. A lot of the veterans like Terry, I think Terry is playing. I know EB had also mentioned about him being able to get to 1,000 yards. I think he needs 54 receiving yards. I think they might have tried to get that early for him. However way they try to do it, and he's probably going to sit. I think Curtis is at like 598 on a year for receiving yards. So I don't know. He may have a trigger or something in this contract for 650 or something like that. But I don't expect those guys to play a lot. The Cowboys seems like they're going to be full go. And how the scenario goes is both of our games is at 425 now. And if the Cowboys win, they're in automatically. I mean, they win the NFC East, which I should say. But if the Cowboys lose and the Eagles win, then the Eagles win the NFC East. So there is something to play for, especially when you're talking about the Cowboys. And they have to be very cautious, South, because we're sitting a lot of vets, and a lot of those vets is not going to play. So if the game is close coming into the second half, you're going to have a lot of guys that's not sure they're going to be on NFL rosters next year. And those are the guys that's going to be going all out. Not so much that we're going to win, but I'm talking about they're going to be out there trying to prove a point. They're going to be hitting. They're going to be, pushing people past the whistle. They're going to be doing all those different types of things. So the Cowboys need to get up early so they won't put any of those guys in those type of positions. So what do you think is going to happen in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna lose.
Right.
I don't. But like, I think we were talking about that in the spaces where it's gonna be some guys out there who are gonna try to put out some film, try to make some noise, try to put out some tape,
Mm-hmm.
to be on either this team next year or one of the other 31 teams out there. So they're gonna be trying to do everything that they can to make a splash play, even if it's not really like a clean play. I think they're gonna try to make it be known that like they remember who I am, put it on tape. So I think it could get ugly. Honestly, I want to see that, but with this coaching staff, I don't know how much they're preaching it. So I think if it does get like nasty and muddy, I think the players will have taken that ownership to do that themselves, because I don't believe that this coaching staff is preaching anything. I don't know. I mean, he said he's been coaching for 5 weeks, so I don't really know what he's coaching. But so I don't, they'll probably play soft coverage the whole game, I guess, just to not try to get beat deep. But that hasn't worked all year. So I think the players, the guys that are trying to make a roster, trying to make a 53, trying to make a practice squad next year, they're gonna be, throwing some cheap shots, some late shots. Some guys might not like it that this is NFL is soft, but I welcome it. It'll be fun to watch. So, yeah.
Yeah, so like last year, Ken, we had people like Chris Paul, Kaliki Hudson, a couple other players that shined in the last game. The fan base went crazy. Like, why we ain't play these guys early? Why ain't play them early? Is there anyone on this team that you can see that probably have a type of game to get the fan base rowdy about why they didn't play more?
I would say look for players along the offensive line to try to make a point. For anyone of the regular starters that may not be playing, you're going to have subs in there, basic practice squad guys, and they're going to want to prove a point because they know that the offensive line needs retooling. So players like Trent Scott, they may have something to show, and they may want to play nasty, like you're saying. On defense, I would look for Khalid Hudson once again to go out and try the ball. Now he's been doing that in recent weeks with mixed results, but basically he's looked fairly decent. So I think he wants to go out once again, have a strong game. The player I'm really focusing on will be on defense, and I think could have a good game, and that's Quan Martin. He's been steadily improving these last few weeks. He's starting to show that, hey, I was worth a second round pick, And so I think someone like Quan Martin will try to really ball out on Sunday.
Yeah, because that's going to be something with, especially with the safeties. I don't think nobody on this team gives me enough confidence to say, you know what, we have him. We don't need Cam Curl. So, and Cam Curl is also questionable. So I doubt if he plays. I'd be surprised if he plays. But nobody on this team gave me that type of impression. So I think that works in Cam Curl's favor. That if they're able to re-sign him, then that takes away like a top priority looking at free agency in the draft. Not saying that they won't go that route south, but that takes away that pressure and that obvious need. But if Quan plays and he plays well, that can also help them in the offseason. Because they say, you know what, I've seen improvement from the summer all the way up to now, and he's had some game experience. He's been playing a lot since early in the year, especially when Defoe went out, when they started using him more in the three packages. He's been playing a lot more. So, they might not use a pick on the safety now, but he has to play well. But how do you look at this game coming up, being as though Dallas is not sitting any of their players? Can you really gauge or really look at our team and say, you know what, this kid has done enough, even if he's only done it for one game?
I almost look at this game as a preseason game, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Preseason game for us because they've got something to play for, but
Mm-hmm.
it's more of a tryout game than anything. I think for anyone that's kind of on the fringe of this roster. Obviously, there's going to be a new coaching staff next year, so this is a tryout game to me. Ken stole my thunder. I think Quan Martin is gonna probably lay some lumber in this game on Sunday. He's been hitting folks the last few weeks. I expect that to continue. The other guys that I kind of want to say are I think his name's Nick. What's his name? Nick Whiteside.
Yeah, the
The
cornerback.
corner.
Mm-hmm.
I think any of those guys, like the second and third stringers, the defensive backs, I think they're gonna try to prove a point as well because they know we've been getting burnt all year. They probably think like Kendall's a free agent. Benjamin St. Juice, I don't know. I mean,
But
that's been
I think
bad.
he's out. I don't think he's playing him. Christian Holmes, I think they're all out.
Okay,
In
yeah.
fact,
So I mean, those guys will probably try to bring their A game. So CD Lamb and those guys, they'll probably try to strap them up as best as they can to put some film out there. Like I said, it's a preseason game. I think for Washington, even for Sam Howell, I think he's gonna be out there trying to prove a point.
mm-hmm.
Whereas I think they're putting him out there. I don't want to say the lead they're thinking like this, but I think it's almost like, all right, guys, all right, fans, we gave Sam the whole season, and he's regressed at the end of the year. So we're gonna go with maybe a quarterback in the draft because you guys have seen all you needed to see. If that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So let's switch a little bit. This is going to be a, a shorter show than usual. I'm just kind of getting back in the groove, and I kind of committed to something prior to us switching from Wednesday to Friday. But I do want to ask Ken, because you've been, I think you started early October, late September with the draft process. Where are you with the quarterbacks that the Commanders are talking about? You got Caleb, you have May, Daniels, you got Penix, Cam Ward has come out of nowhere, Bo Nix. So you have those guys. Where are you so far in your draft process with those quarterbacks?
Well, I've been laying back a little bit, and the reason for that is I want to see what this new front office structure
It
is
makes sense.
and see where they're going. Now, I'm still scouting players. I'm still looking at quarterbacks and offensive line as being that first overall pick. And what I will say is we don't know what the philosophy of this new coaching staff, this new front office is going to be. So I'm not ruling out an offensive lineman with that first pick. I think it would be very premature just to say, hey, they're going quarterback, because right now we don't know what this front office is going to think. But as far as the quarterbacks, I'll say this. I think Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, and Drake May are all neck and neck in my estimation. I like all three, and I'll see what this front office starts to zero in on these last few weeks. I think the Senior Bowl is really going to be a key, and the Combine. Those are two things I'm looking at.
Yeah, because all those guys are playing, right? May, Penix, and Daniels, right?
Yes, they are. As far as the others, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, I'm not saying I'm grading them lower. I'm still grading them out.
Mm-hmm.
I would. I'm tempted to put Jaden Daniels in that top four, but I'm not there yet. The only reason I need to see more film of him, need to read more scouting reports. And Bo Nix, though, I would say is just below this group. How far, I don't know. But I should have a pretty good handle on this by late January, early February.
I'm definitely waiting. When it comes to the hierarchy of, or the tree, or the I think they call it the order of command, or whatever that is, when it comes from the structure of our front office. So, what do you prefer? Like for me, I want owner, VP, GM, head coach. Where
Yeah,
how do you look at it?
yeah, that's it. I mean, if it's anything else, it's weird. Like, there's only, well, I think two teams have a different structure than that. Um, so, and one of them's the Patriots. So we already know how that's going. Um, yeah, I mean, I think it all really matters on who they hire at the helm as GM. Like, I'm just waiting. That's why I don't like to get too caught up in who they're gonna draft, who this, what, all that, because there's so much stuff to happen before the draft. Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
who they're gonna hire, there's free agency, then there's who, what kind of scheme are they running, and then that changes everything after that. So so that's why I don't get too caught up in it. I do like players, but yeah, I think it's all gonna owner, VP, GM, head coach, and on down.
What about you, Ken?
I think it's going to be president. Well, it's going to be ownership group, and then president of football operations, because that's pretty much the indication that we're getting. Um, and almost on the same level will be the general manager. Those two will be hired first, period. And then the head coach will be hired, and then the coaching staff will be filled out from after that. And I don't think they're going to be necessarily making it Baltimore Ravens centric guys or 49ers, whoever. I think this ownership group, based on how they've run the Sixers and the Devils, I think they're going to cast a wide net. They're going to look at a lot of guys, but I would think that within the first week or two, starting on Monday, they want to get the president of football operations and the GM hired quickly, and then they'll go from there.
Yeah, I've really and we were talking about the Ravens today with Hortz. This is my thing when we bring in someone that hasn't actually done the job, is that I need to know if it's possible. Like today, we talked to someone that's very familiar with the Ravens, and he told us about Hortz and how during the process with Cal Hamilton, is that the GM Ed and the other guy, like they kind of looked at that 40 time that he ran, and they kind of pushed him out of their top five. But he stepped in and he said, "No, this guy is this, and that. He needs to stay in the top five. This is the guy that we're vouching from the scouting side that we should draft." And that held a lot of weight. And obviously, we know they end up with going and select Cal Hamilton. So whoever we bring in that doesn't have the actual experience, I would love to know how much input did they have in those decisions being made, like these great decisions from these great organizations that people we want to pull from. How much of an input? Like I don't want, the coffee guy. Like I don't want the guy that they say to go get coffee and go email them our decision, or do this, go find the phone number of the player we about to draft. Like I don't want that guy. I want somebody that's actually has some type of umph in those rooms making those decisions. Don't just give me any old body just because he comes from that organization. How you feel about that, South?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would want this. There's only a few coaching staffs that I would want them to like pull from. One of them, Miami, basically the Sean McVay tree. Like anybody from that tree, I'm cool with. But yeah, I don't want the second assistant to the mailroom guy to be hired as the head coach. Like
Exactly.
not that's not what we're looking for. We need somebody in there who knows what they're doing. Because if they don't, it's gonna be super obvious, and then we'll be back on this pod saying they hired the wrong guy, and then we're just gonna be sad some more. And yeah, so anybody that has actual experience on these coaching staffs that they're trying to pull from, Kim, come on, you know what D Generation X is? It's wrestling. Um, but yeah, I'm with you. I need somebody that has some pull in the organization, that has made decisions before, that they know what they're doing.
That's exactly where I am. Like I don't I need people that know exactly what um exactly what they are doing. And before we get out of here, Ken, analytics is like analytics. We know Josh Hurd is the big analytics guy. Big analytics guy. He brought in Shin, which is one of the top analytics guy in the league. But I need a talent evaluator somewhere in that room that understands the game of football, the actual football, actual emotion of football. Because someone like Leno, when you look at the analytics, is telling me that he's a top 15 tackle, or it's telling me that he's one of the better tackles in the league. So when Shen says Leno, the numbers prove that Leno should be here. I need someone to step in to say, what does your eyes tell you? Like, so can how does that work between someone that's analytical, and someone that's actually football and passion? Like, how does passion versus analytics look?
Well, I would advise all the listeners and viewers out there to go read John Kime's article from today that
Yep.
talks about Josh Harris and what to expect from him in his leadership. And there's something that he put in there that I think rings true, and I'm roughly paraphrasing it. Under Dan Snyder, um, he was still dictatorial in his actions, and while he tried to give job titles to people, he undermined them. He
Mm-hmm.
undermined his people all the time for his entire ownership. And if you're hired as an employee of a company, and the manager has say so in that, you want that manager to let you be able to do your job. You don't want that manager undermining you the entire time that you're working, and that just goes to distrust, and you don't perform well. Josh Harris is the exact opposite. He empowers people. He wants you to go in and do your job. So go read that article. I highly recommend it. But as far as football people, they're going to be there. As far as analytic people, they're going to be there. So I think they're going to mesh well. Josh Harris is a listener, but he is also a leader. He'll listen. He will listen to the football people, and there's something he said in there. He says, there's times when I get beat up, and then I learn some things. and then I get beat up again, and then I finally learn everything. That was me when I was younger. I was a scrappy kid. I get into a couple fights here and there, and then I would learn something. I learned who, I could beat up, but, it wasn't fun after that. And then I got beat up a few times, and then I learned something. I learned not to pick on that guy or, pick a fight with him or anything. It's the same thing with Josh Harris. He's going to learn along the way, but he's a quick learner. And I think in the coming weeks, we're going to like this football office and we're going to like the coaching staff very much because he's going to rely on them heavily and he's going to pick the best people to do the job.
That's for you, South. Kim says you don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't know. Kim doesn't watch wrestling. She used to watch it. I don't think she watches that much.
And to answer Kim, I'm moving. I'm just moving along.
That's good to hear. So I mean, like, all right, Cowboys. Let's spend the last minute on this on this game Sunday because next week we're gonna be here. We're gonna back to our regular time on Wednesday. We're gonna cap and close out the season, but you will see South and Kent throughout the off season because next week we're probably the whole brand itself is probably going to be not probably, but we're going to be shooting cash the whole week talking about Ron, this and that. So not only Wednesday, I haven't told them yet, but I'm sure Ken and South is going to be able to come out a couple times next week on different days that we're going to be talking about football. We're going to be having fans come on to tell us about their time with Ron Rivera and what they're looking for moving forward. A lot of fans. So if you want to be a part of that, please just DM one of us, anybody from the team. We'll definitely get you, 5-10 minutes on the camera. So South, what's the score? What's your score prediction?
All right, so what we got? I'm gonna say 38-13 Cowboys.
What you got? What you got, Ken?
I think Washington will try to put some points on the board, but it's not going to be enough. I think given the players that will be starting on defense, they're going to be overwhelmed. I'm going 48-23 Cowboys.
I think I had 30 either 38-14 or 37-14. Yeah, it was one of those. Let's see. Kim says 31-34. Okay, Kim. 34-30 Cowboys. Yeah.
Look at that.
What team she been watching all year?
Did you see that picture of Kim? She's showing a little leg there. And she's showing a little bit of, gumption picking the Washington Commanders. My goodness, you got to like that.
That seems like a DM coming, Kim.
No, Kim knows me.
No.
She knows that I don't do that.
Is it dark outside yet, dude?
And do you know that every woman on Twitter knows this? That any DM I have with them, it's on the up and up. I don't do any passes. I don't do anything suggestive. They know that, and they'll back me up, every single one of them. They know that. I just want to put that out there.
I know. I mean, nobody in these comments said, "Welcome back, Deuce. How you been, South?"
Yeah.
It's been all about Kim. I mean,
That's
Kim.
rude.
Kim,
anyone that's watching
that.
this, very rude.
See, it's all about Kim.
They like nice old guys because we're not going to do anything. Because I'm not going to do anything. My dating days are over.
Oh, seriously. Man. Look, y'all, we appreciate all of you for watching. We definitely appreciate. Kim say we're going to start rumors.
See what I mean?
See, look, Ken is the man here. See what I'm saying? Look, Riri, all hearts to Ken. See that?
No. They're good friends. That's it.
We appreciate y'all for watching. We definitely appreciate y'all for joining. Remember, do it because you love it, not because it loves you. One beat, one sound, one heart, one love.
Saturday Brunch with the Ladies of HTTC, sponsored by Red Zone in the Lab. Join us Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern as we discuss everything NFL and, of course, brunch. See you soon. Hail to the Commanders.